Now, the first thing they did was to forbid the drum, forbid all African ceremonies, forbid African ornaments, literally to destroy a people in such a manner that they had to be remade in an American image. This was the beginning of the fragmenting of our family in this country. It was also the beginning of the demeaning and the negation of the masculinity of the black male in America.
In history, of course, the Negro had no place in this curriculum. He was pictured as a human being of lower order, unable to subject passion to reason, and therefore useful only when made the hewer of wood and the drawer of water for others. No thought was given to the history of Africa except so far as it had been a field of exploitation for the Caucasian. You might study the history as it was offered in our system from the elementary school throughout the university, and you would never hear Africa mentioned except in a negative. You would never thereby learn that Africans first domesticated the sheep, goat, and cow, developed the idea of trial by jury, produced the first stringed instruments, and gave the world its greatest boon in the discovery of iron. You would never know that prior to the Mohammedan invasion about 1000 AD, these natives in the heart of Africa had developed powerful kingdoms, which were later organized as the Songhai Empire on the order of that of the Romans and boasting of similar grandeur. Unlike other people, then, the Negro, according to this point of view, was an exception to the natural plan of things, and he had no such mission as that of an outstanding contribution to the culture. The status of the Negro, then, was justly fixed as that of an inferior. Teachers of Negroes in their first schools after emancipation did not proclaim any such doctrine, but the content of the curricula justifies these inferences. An observer from outside of the situation naturally inquires why the Negroes, many of whom served their race as teachers, have not changed this program. These teachers, however, are powerless. Negroes have no control over their education and little voice in their other affairs pertaining thereto. In a few cases, Negroes have been chosen as members of public boards of education, and some have been appointed members of private boards, but these Negroes are always such a small minority that they do not figure into the final working of the educational program. The education of the Negroes, then, the most important thing in the uplift of the Negroes, is almost entirely in the hands of those who have enslaved them and now segregate them. With miseducated Negroes in control themselves, however, it is doubtful that the system would be very much different from what it is, or that it would rapidly undergo change. The Negroes thus placed in charge would be the products of the same system. It would show no more conception of the task at hand than do the whites who have educated them and shaped their minds as they would have them function. Negro educators of today may have more sympathy and interest in the race than the whites now exploiting Negro institutions as educators, but the former have no more vision than their competitors. Taught from books of the same bias, trained by Caucasians of the same prejudices, or by Negroes of enslaved minds, one generation of Negro teachers after another have served for no higher purpose than to do what they are told to do.
I don't know what most white people in this country feel, but I can only include what they feel from the state of their institutions. I don't know if white Christians hate Negroes or not, but I know that we have a Christian church which is white and a Christian church which is black. I know, as Malcolm X once put it, that the most segregated hour in American life is high noon on Sunday. That says a great deal for me about a Christian nation. It means that I can't afford to trust most white Christians and certainly cannot trust the Christian church. I don't know whether the labor unions and their bosses really hate me. That doesn't matter, but I know I'm not in their unions. I don't know if the real estate lobby has anything against black people, but I know the real estate lobbies keep me in the ghetto. I don't know if the Board of Education hates black people, but I know the textbooks I give my children to read and the schools that we have to go to. Now, this is the evidence. You want me to make an act of faith, risking myself, my wife, my woman, my sister, my children, on some idealism which you assure me exists in America, which I have never seen.
Ultimately, the white male views the black female as a threat to his survival on the planet. A secondary factor causing the white male to feel the need to degrade the black female in sexual encounters is the white male's and female's anger toward the original black mother. Whites blame the original black mother for giving birth to them with genetic deficiency, albinism. Their anger is still being acted out by the white male against the black female. This anger is reflected in the reports of many black females who have had sexual encounters with white males and report that white males often want not only to ejaculate in their faces and over their bodies, but also want to urinate and defecate on them as part of the sexual encounter. It is certainly clear that many white males relate to white families in this manner, but it is known to all that white males look down upon and degrade white females. This degradation of the white female by the white male is the basis of the white female's current women's liberation movement. The very high, perhaps unconscious level of psychic pain experienced by the white male because of this genetic deficiency as an albino variant and his neurotic desire to be born again from the original black mother is perhaps the reason why the phrase motherfucker is such an awesome phrase for the white male to utter. It is phrased that the white male is almost unable to bring his vocal apparatus to form. This is in stark contrast to the frequent uttering of the phrase motherfucker by black males. When translated, the terms mean functional powerlessness from the black male in the context of the white supremacy system culture. However, it is an externally imposed powerlessness. For the white male, on the other hand, the same phrase has an even more disturbing, frightening, and devastating meaning in the same systemic and cultural context. For the white male, the term translates into not functional powerlessness that is external imposed, but his own genetic powerlessness. Such a consideration is totally unthinkable at the conscious level, and even the unconscious level for the white male psyche. The basis for certain specific patterns of words usage in a white supremacy system culture is imposed to fully comprehend without an understanding of the origin of that system culture. White supremacy or racism began with the production of the first albino mutants from black mothers and fathers in Africa. Once isolated, these recessive genetic mutants began to mate with one another and multiply, producing what is known as the white race. The white race historically has sought to hide its genetic origins in Africa amongst blacks, just as it has sought to deny the origins of the white civilization from the culture of blacks in Africa, seeking instead to proclaim an origin amongst the Greeks. Historically, whites have also sought to degrade Africa and everything black. By doing so, whites can avoid confronting the true meaning of skin whiteness as a mutation and genetic deficiency state from the black norm, the human norm.
Yes, I do, Charlie, but let me tell you, that's the wrong question.
Okay, what's the right question?
How do you feel? Not you, Charlie Rose,
Right.
but don't you understand that the people who do this thing, who practice racism,
Right.
are bereft? There is something distorted about the psyche. It's a huge waste, and it's a corruption and a distortion. It's a profound neurosis that nobody examines for what it is. It feels crazy. It is crazy. And it has just as much of a deleterious effect on white people, and possibly equal as it does black people. I always knew that I had the moral high ground all my life. I always thought those people who said I couldn't come in the drugstore and I had to sit in these funny places, I couldn't go in the park.
You felt morally superior to them
I
from
did.
day one.
And I thought they knew that I knew that they were inferior to me morally. I always thought that. And my parents always thought that.
You said your father was racist because he always felt like he was superior.
That's right. He always felt superior. And that was a form, you know, of defensive racism.
The same culture does not see any connection between the numbers and shape of its missiles, bombs, guns, and male genital apparatus, and the ever-increasing incidence of sexual violence, the highest level of violence being expressed in the act of rape. In the magazine India Today, Volume 2, Number 7, in August 1st through 15th in 1980, the North American edition. On one page, there was an article on the epidemic of rape in India, and on the very next page, there was an article on the development of missiles and other nuclear weapons of destruction by the subcontinent of India. The latter article was entitled, Soaring into the Space Age. Consciously, this page and subject association may be accidental, but unconsciously, it is logical. India is one of the poorest countries in the world with mass levels of unemployment and starvation. Those black and brown men are feeling debased and powerless under global white supremacy, which they still fail to understand after centuries of colonization. In India, there is a massive mental disease of people hating their skin color and wishing themselves to be as white as their early white Aryan invaders. They are obsessed with the caste system based on skin color, with the blackest people looked upon as untouchables. They hate themselves and feel debased under white supremacy. Also, these non-white men have not discovered yet how to feed their people. Therefore, because of this debased view of self, they rape. Just as the global white collective has raped the non-white women of the world and continues its rape of Black Mother Earth with weapons and pollution. Since the white supremacy system is predicated on the white collectives, most specifically the white male collective's sense of genetic and genital inadequacy and vulnerability, it reflects this sense of inadequacy and vulnerability in the raping of women, weaker men, and Black Mother Earth. Rape is most fundamentally a symptom in the entire syndrome of sensed male inadequacy. Therefore, those who wish to combat the world's epidemic of rape must wage counter-struggle against the global white supremacy system. Rape will cease as a dominant behavior amongst black males once they begin to respect themselves fully as men, cease reacting unconsciously to the white supremacy system's attack against them, and learn to struggle efficiently and effectively to neutralize and destroy this grave global injustice.
But if the racist white person, I don't mean the person who is examining his consciousness and so on, doesn't understand that he or she is also a race, it's also constructed, it's also made, and it also has some kind of serviceability. But when you take it away, I take your race away, and there you are, all strung out, and all you got is your little self. And what is that? What are you without racism? Are you any good? Are you still strong? You still smart? You still like yourself? I mean, these are the questions. It's part of it is, yes, the victim, how terrible it has been for black people.
But you don't like that.
I'm not a victim. I refuse to be one.
And the victim is the other person who is morally inferior and
that's
who
that's a
has
serious
to hold
question.
on to
of course
racism
if you
to
have
somehow
to hold, that's
for
right.
his or her own self-esteem and definition.
If you can only be tall because somebody's on their knees, then you have a serious problem. And my feeling is white people have a very, very serious problem. And they should start thinking about what they can do about it.
Time to see where curiosity will take us.